Pause from the campaign trail elsewhere, though. Republican candidates Chris Christie, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio agreeing that the president is playing a dangerous game with our national security. And Fox Business's Cheryl Casoni caught up with presidential candidate Donald Trump today. As usual, he did not hold back.
And most importantly, we don't have the right to unfettered go in there and check whenever we want to, anytime, anywhere. We don't have the right to do that. So what kind of a deal is it? We know they're going to cheat. We know that. We also know the Persians are great negotiators. And frankly, I think the deal is terrible, and it's certainly bad for Israel.
National security, just one side of the political debate over Iran. The economic side, just as uncertain. Will this agreement open up new markets for multinational companies? And how will it impact oil supply and gasoline prices here at home? We bring in Bob Hormats, Kissinger Vice Chairman, former Goldman Sachs International Vice Chair, and former Undersecretary of State for Economic, Energy, and Environmental Affairs, here in a Fox Business exclusive. Bob, from what you have seen of this deal, is it something, if you were still at the State Department, that you would have voted for or supported?
Well, I haven't seen all the details, but I think they got a great deal. Is it perfect?
Who's they?
Definitely the United States.
Because people are saying Iran got the great deal.
I think our negotiators did a good job. Are there parts of it that I haven't seen? Obviously, I haven't seen anything in terms of the details. I've seen what has been exposed publicly, but nor have all these people who are commenting on it. So my suggestion is, particularly in this political environment, that they look at the facts before they make statements of the kind that we've just seen.
Well, here's a fact. Donald Trump mentioned we can't check on them, meaning inspections. Now, the nuclear watchdogs can demand inspections, but sometimes after a whole bunch of discussion in this new deal, it can be up to 26 days before the inspectors can actually get in there. And 26 days is pretty much going to give you a chance to cover up a bunch of stuff, right?
Well, that's one of the risks, that the inspection is not exactly what we wanted. There is the ability to inspect, and if the Iranians decide they're not going to allow the inspection, there's a process, a committee that will be the so-called Court of Appeal that can make the ultimate decision, including the United States and a number of other Western countries. So they will probably have inspection, but there is this delay. Inspection is one of the things that was going to have to be looked at very hard.
That's what bothered me a little bit, that it seems like, and I likened it yesterday to, dorm room inspection, college kids. We're coming at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Make sure you're ready, wink, wink. So that's what bothers me. But there are other issues, too. And yet, this is a deal that started in discussions more than 10 years ago. This isn't just a President Obama wish to have a deal with Iran.
Yes, the Bush administration actually wanted to have discussions with the Iranians on this. The European Union actually did have discussions with Ali Larijani, who was their negotiator earlier on. This is not something that just started recently. The process of trying to negotiate a deal was begun, as you say, around 10 years ago.
Convince certain Americans who are sitting out there saying, why would we ever trust the Iranians on anything? Convince them that this is a decent start, because there are a lot of doubters here.
Well, we can't rely on trust of the Iranians. There has to be enough in it to give us a high level of confidence that the inspection process will work and the Iranians will do what they say they're going to do, which is to say, get rid of a lot of their enriched uranium.
Well, they said they would reduce that stockpile by 98%.
98%. And also the enriched uranium they do have, lower it to below 4% U-235, which means you can't make a bomb out of it. But there's always the risk of secret activities. If, in fact, they're found, however, and the inspection process is able to probe those, then the sanctions go back on. That's another issue, of course, and that is once the sanctions are removed, if in fact they are removed, because the Iranians comply with what they're supposed to comply with right away, whether other countries will then reinstate those sanctions. It was hard enough to get them on in the first place. But the fact is, we're trying to get a high level of transparency and a high level of visibility on what the Iranians are doing, get them to cut back. And I think there's a high probability that they will cut back. But this has to be looked at in terms of detail, and the detail is going to be critical to whether the Congress supports it and whether it works.
We can throw in some of the details. So basically, you would have a frozen situation for 10 years on some of the levels and for 5 years on other levels. And we can put up some of these rules and regulations now. It's about 100 pages with 5 pages of addendums, new provisions for inspections we talked about, but lifting of the embargo on conventional weapons and missiles. 5 years for conventional weapons, meaning those will be lifted, and in 8 years,
8 years for
missiles.
the ballistic missiles, right, yes. That's right, which gives some degree of time till the Iranians get what they wanted. And in fact, the Russians and Chinese also wanted that to be reduced.
The conventional weapons, they've been funneling weapons to different regional conflicts over the past several years, among them Hezbollah, the Gaza Strip, Yemen, and the Houthi rebels. Doesn't matter that they hate ISIS, and so do we. They're inserting themselves even with this arms embargo.
This is one of the big question marks here, and that is, one of the things we know is that we've tried to get a deal on the nuclear issue. But there are a lot of other areas where the Iranians are doing things that are counter to our interests in Lebanon, in other parts of the Middle East, and supporting revolutionary groups. One of the things is the supreme leader, in order to go along with this and get the more radical elements in Iran to go along, did he have to make
Ali
Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, did he have to give something to the radicals, the Quds, the forces, the Revolutionary Guard, the military, who don't like this deal? Did he have to say to them, look, you're going to get more money out of this because we're going to have more money available? Was there some internal deal where he gave the doves, so to speak, the Rouhani and others, the ability to conclude this deal, because it wouldn't be concluded without him? On the other hand, did he have to give another group, the more radical group, something else internally in Iranian politics? We don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, when Rouhani is a dove and he's standing at the front as they're burning American and Israeli flags.
Well, that's the problem. It's all relative.
Semantics.
It's all relative. And at least he supported this deal, so he's more dovish than some of the radical groups. So I wouldn't say he's a dove in American terms. In Iranian terms, he's probably for the deal. There are a lot who aren't. What did he have to do to get those who were not to go along with the deal, and to get him comfortable in terms of Iranian domestic politics? These are issues that will take a long time. This is really only the third or fourth inning. There are a lot of innings to go till we understand the deal, and we understand what's going to happen in Iran because of it.
Bob Hormats, thank you very much. Former Undersecretary of State. It's great to have you. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.